Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to this instance of the Antrea community meeting. Probably the last instance for year 2024, as I believe it's unlikely that we are going to have another meeting on New Year's Eve. And for today, we have a presentation about running multiple kind jobs on a single virtual machine, and this presentation will be given by Pulkit, that then will also give us a demo. And that's the only topic that I have in the agenda for today. So, Pulkit, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Salvatore. Share the screen. I hope my screen is visible to you all.
Yes.
We can see the screen.
So, hello everyone. Today I'm going to present on running multiple kind jobs on the same VM. So the topics that I'll cover is introduction, that what the task is all about, what was the motivation behind the task, and how we implemented it, and then followed by demo and Q&A. So I'll give you a brief introduction about the task. So the task was that currently we had for each kind cluster, we had its own VM. So whenever there was any E2E job or any conformance network policy job, so for that we created a kind cluster on a VM and we used to run that job. So suppose that VM is already occupied by some other job, then we need to wait for that job to complete and then the cluster to be cleaned up, and then this new job run started. So the task that we took up was to create multiple kind cluster so that we can have parallel runs of job using the above created multiple clusters. And then also a part of the task was effective cleanup of clusters. So previously what we were doing was that we had a single cluster and a single job running on the same VM, so we just wanted to clean up that cluster. But now since we have parallel job runs, so we needed to take care of effective cleanup of clusters also, so that cleanup of resources for one cluster should not affect the other running job that is there in the parallel. So this was the task all about. Now, moving behind the motivation that why we move forward with the multiple kind job run was the one of the main reason behind this was reduce the cost involved in creating VM based cluster. So current following the current implementation, what was there was that we had multiple VMs on our vSphere, and then we added those to the Jenkins pipeline. And for each job, we had a VM assigned. So suppose there is an E2E job. So there are three nodes that are assigned for the E2E job. So whenever a job is run, if one of the node is idle, so we use that node, we created the kind cluster on that, and the job used to run on that. So so similarly, when there were new jobs, so that jobs were waiting. So neither this was the effective use of resources, because one in a single VM we can create multiple kind cluster, because they have enough resources to create at least 3 to 4 kind clusters on the same VM, because kind cluster do not take up much of the space. So this was a motivation that when we can provision a single VM to run multiple jobs, then why do we need to use multiple VMs and register them? And also now we have resource limitation on creating multiple VMs. So this was the motivation that why we took up this task. And then moving forward with that how we implemented this. So implementation was pretty simple, that previously what we had was that there was no build tag that we provided when building the images. So all the images were built using the latest tag itself. So I implemented a provision for custom build tag while creating the build images for testing purpose. So what happened is that when suppose there are two jobs running on the same VM, so if we use the same build tag, suppose the latest build tag, then there might be you know a clash between the images that are being used by one of the job and the other job if they had the same build tag. So we used a custom build tag. So whenever a build would be created to run to trigger a particular job, so it will have its own build tag, its own custom kube config that would be passed when we are invoking the test script. And similarly, the cleanup will also be based on the build tag. So previously, we used to just grab the Antrea related images with the latest tag and we used to remove all that. But since now we are provisioning multiple job runs, so what will happen is that the cleanup will be based on the build tag that we have provided, and this will help us in preventing one job cleanup affecting the other jobs that are running in the same time. So the main thing here was the custom kube config and the custom build tag while creating the build images. So if I show you an overview that how the thing is, so there is a VM and then we can have multiple kind clusters. So here we can see that we have two kind cluster. It will have its own kube config, and for each of the cluster, like for each of the job run, we will have their own build tag. And based on this tag, we will update the Antrea YAML also while running the test, so that instead of latest, we will be using this build tag. And then after the test, everything would be cleaned up and reverted back to its original state. So this is how we are facilitating the run of multiple jobs using multiple kind cluster on a similar VM. So this was all about the implementation part. And now, any questions still here, or should I show you a small demo on this?
You can go with the demo.
Sure. Is my screen visible?
No, no, actually not.
I think it is
Now,
not.
now we can see a console screen.
Yeah. So basically, the complete demo will take a lot of time because we have to wait for the job runs to be completed. But I'll just show you that how the test script would be invoked when when we will be running this in our Jenkins pipeline or the CI pipeline. So basically, when we will call this CI Jenkins test.sh with any test case like E2E conformance and network policy, we'll provide the kube config for the cluster, the cluster name, and this build tag. So what will happen? And suppose currently I have two kind clusters created. So one is kind E2 E2 and another one is kind E2 E1. So in the same time on the same machine, I can run this and I'll change the build tag. I'll change the cluster name. Second, I'll just show it in the same screen. So what will happen is this will start its build, and it will create all the images with this custom build tag, and it will use this cluster for running the E2E test. And if I stop this, then in the same time on the same terminal, we can have this kind E2E1 with the build tag E2E1, and we can provide the kube config related to this cluster there. And so suppose the kube config was kube config 2 for this one, so we can execute this run. So similarly, here I have shown you like sequentially that after ending one I have ran the other. But in actual CI pipeline, when we will have the E2E test running, so with the help of these flags which are there, the build tag and the kube config one, we can actually have multiple jobs running without interfering with the working of each other. So this was all about the demo, like because I cannot show the exact E2E run because that will take time. First, the images will be built and then the E2E will be triggered. So any questions on this?
Hey, Packet, I have a question regarding the network isolation. I remember that in our end-to-end test, we use some fixed IP address
Mm-hmm.
across some external connectivity test. like egress and the service relevance IP feature, and perhaps also some flexible time feature. So how it is achieved to prevent the uh, the routes or some external IP uh, do not affect each other if such tests are running in parallel, or we don't allow such tests to run on the same virtual machine.
No, we allow such tests to run in the same virtual machine, but Docker itself provides the isolation for this. So, but usually what our preference would be to run different kinds of tests like E2E conformance and network policy, these kind of tests on the similar machine. But even if we are running two different E2E tests, then the isolation would be provided by Docker itself when we have two different container-based clusters. So they would not interfere with the working of each other.
The Docker provides I think it provides isolation in connectivity in networking, but we need an external endpoint uh, to test the traffic, right? For service load balance IP, I remember that we have a separate Docker container to start a traffic test that runs out of the cluster. And as I assume that if we use the same external IP, then they would affect each other because the reply traffic will not know which is the right client if they have the same IP. The same may apply to egress case, but I, I seem to remember that for the egress, we use a faked external IP instead of an actual external endpoint.
Yeah, for egress, we are using the fixed egress IP in the test. That's right. So, yeah, for this flexible, with flexible IPAM, it's not tested. For the service load balancer thing, which you are saying, to prevent that, what we can have is that instead of having multiple E2E at the same time, E2E conformance and network policy, like these three kind of tests. So this will all like this also reduces the load on the VMs a much. Like we do not require separate VMs for running E2E conformance and network policy. All these three can be run together on the same VM because they do not have any interference also.
Uh, what do you mean by separating them? Because the service load balancer IP feature will be run for as long as you run the Antrea's own end-to-end test, right? If that is not allowed to run the same VM, then basically you will have to uh, ensure that uh, the the virtual machine is not used to run any same kind of tests.
Yeah, this we need to take it up. Like we need to ensure that similar kind of tests are not run together.
I'm not sure if it is it is the right direction because it will become complicated. And instead, maybe try to uh, make some parameters configurable or auto-allocated so that uh, uh, we ensure that one cluster will not affect another regardless of the test being run. Otherwise, many factors need to be taken into consideration, and the efforts that spends on running multiple tests on the same virtual machine may not be very meaningful eventually.
Okay.
Maybe take a look at the tests that require external container first. We have such uh, we have such requirements in several tests. And I just remember today they may be hard-coded IP or something like that.
Sure, I'll take a look into that, like which the external container requirements.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, Chan. So basically, the plan is to first have like basic test run, which doesn't have any dependency, so that we can utilize like whatever VM we have, and then currently for IPAM also that is this will not be supported, and egress as well. So we'll take care of that separately, not this one. So initially, we are just planning to run the basics test. It doesn't have common IP and that kind of thing. Because definitely for IPAM also earlier we discussed like we need separate kind bridges and things like that. So that needs to be taken care separately.
Sure. Another direction I think we discussed before is looking at the Kubernetes CI, which use the PROW, PROW infrastructure. I think it's basically Docker in Docker. I'm not sure how complicated it is, but maybe it's very simple to reuse. And maybe it could adjust this network isolation automatically.
Yeah, that's we decided to explore that, but that again needs like Kubernetes is running that kind of test, I think, in Docker in Docker, right? So yeah, so that is like is a long-term plan, not short-term. So yeah, we look into it that well as well.
Okay.
Hello, anyone speaking? Hello, Sabato.
No, no one is speaking. And I was actually wondering if there is any other question for Pulkit. Okay, so there is somebody that's raising a hand, so maybe we have something else to discuss. So please, Aryan, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. So, I just wanted to ask about some issues. Are they open to work? Uh,
Sorry, Aryan, we cannot hear you anymore.
Oh, yeah, I can answer the question. Yes, I think as long as there's no assigning and you may take it, but I guess you can also leave your comment on the issue first. Sometimes
yeah,
the issue is not assigned, but there may already someone, maybe they already worked on that. You can leave a comment first if you are interested
yeah.
in any issue.
I was interested in the new issues that were opened on the packet capture feature. Uh, this bidirectional and capture at destination. Are this open or is someone internally working on it?
Oh, I think the Encato, the command line one is taken. I'm not sure which issue are you referring to. Let me check. I think most of them are not handled yet. There are
Anyways,
multiple packet. Yeah.
I'll drop a comment on that, and I'll discuss on Slack what I am thinking how to solve that. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yes, some issues are were opened. I think Anthony wants to use them as next Linux Foundation mentorship program. But I don't think all of them will be used for that purpose. If you are interested in any issue and there is no explicit assignee, you can just leave your comments. I think the issue owner or the maintainer would confirm that if it's okay to work on that.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so Pulkit's presentation was the only topic that we have for today. I will wait a few more seconds to check if there is anything else that you would like to discuss. Otherwise, this might be all for today. Okay, so just a quick thing before we finish the meeting. The next planned instance of the Antrea community meeting will fall on New Year's Eve. It's a day where most team members, let's say, are typically off. So we will follow up with you on Slack to let you know if the next instance is cancelled or moved, or whether we are still doing it on New Year's Eve. Please check updates on Slack in the next few days for this. Okay, and thanks everyone for attending. I wish everyone a great day, good evening, or a good afternoon. And thanks for attending. Thanks again, Pulkit, for your presentation, and talk to you in the next instance of the community meeting.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.